All
we
right,
got
let's talk about
we got
DeSantis.
Mr.
What's up?
DeSantis
What's up with
here.
my boy?
His stop woke law. That's the name of the law. Stop woke. He really, literally wronging our kids and employees. Woke.
Wrongs to our kids and employees. Okay,
W.O.K.E. He had to make it into an acronym. kind
amazing.
of kind of stretched it, but so it's the Stop Woke Act. Um, a judge has stopped it because it's positively dystopian and against the 14th Amendment.
What's it about?
Um, the judge seems to think that university it limits what colleges and universities can teach students about racism, sexism, calling it positively dystopian. Um, the law in April. Uh,
Teaching students and employees anything that would cause anyone to feel guilt, anguish, or any form of psychological distress due to their race, color, sex, or national origin.
so if I tell
Okay.
you a fact about history and it makes you feel guilty, anguish, or psychological distress, it's illegal.
Yeah, sounds dumb.
this is
Um,
this is my problem with the wokeism and the Republican fight against woke. It's not real. It's nonsense. It's all feelings. It is all feelings and no facts. Uh, the right wing attempt to fight woke, whatever woke is, they change it every week, and whatever they want fits into that category, and whatever they don't want to fit into that category doesn't. It is 100% feelings. It is 100% uh, mental. Just whatever they
I would say
think.
the law is annoying. It got rightfully struck down by a judge, and I don't know. I actually don't have any opposition to this one.
Okay.
Not you know
I
like
mean, he's floating these things in Florida so that he can pass them uh, federally once he's president. You know.
well once he's president, he's got to deal with the legislature of the country,
Hmm.
right? It's one of those things where he it's possible in Florida because Florida is fully red right now,
Right.
you know, and he has all of Florida under his thumb.
Hmm.
But the legal system is working in the way that it was intended in Florida,
For now.
where sure, where in Florida the judges, this got passed, and the judges are saying no, that's ridiculous. You can't do that, right? And so this law has been struck down. The legal system is working as intended,
For
and
now.
I'm fine with
I
that.
mean, his side is going to appeal it, and then it's going to go to a higher judge. And if it hits a right wing judge, they're going to allow it. And if it hits a left wing judge, they're going to deny it. I don't. I don't
I mean,
think that's the
it
system working
theoretically
properly.
could go as high as the Supreme Court, right?
Right.
And the Supreme Court will probably say no. I
I
would
I
guess
hope they
that,
would.
well, yeah, look, the Supreme Court currently has a bunch of constitutionalists on it, right?
Mm, I,
Where,
that's what they call themselves. Yes.
yeah, and they are.
No.
You
They can.
disagree?
Yeah. No. Those are not constitutionalists. The right wing guys. Is that who we're talking about? They give their opinion and they work off of whatever the hell they want and call themselves constitutionalists.
Interesting.
They just make that word up to get what they want anyway and say it's constitutionalist in quotes. I no, I don't agree that they are constitutionalists.
Hmm.
I think they're right wing and they just
Um,
call it constitutionalism to cover their tracks. It is a
I have to disagree.
ruse. Okay.
I think that constitutionalism is probably the correct route for a Supreme Court justice.
Hmm.
Um, I think that constitutionalism is probably going to lean right wing anyway because it's a more libertarian perspective. where if legislation doesn't actively interfere with the Constitution, it should be allowed. So, for example, this gay legislation,
Hmm.
right, that was just passed,
Hmm.
if that goes through the Supreme Court and gets denied by the Supreme Court on the basis of the Constitution, I'd be like, whoa, hold on a second, because that doesn't sound right. The legislation itself being challenged, how do I say this? It's it's all about what it is they do. Abortion was not covered by the Constitution, so they cut it down. And I believe that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, before she died, actually said that Roe v. Wade was a mistake because it should
Hmm.
have been legislated.
It should have been legislated, which is what we talked
It's
about earlier, and
exactly
it ought
right.
to have been. Yeah.
Being a constitutionalist, I don't think is a right wing perspective. I think that things should be legislated and that legislating from the bench is incorrect. I
I
would not like to see that.
I agree. I just think that the uh, judges there are right wing, and they do right wing things and then call it constitutionalism. Uh, but I get what you're
Well, what
saying, that constitutionalism should be what they do. I just don't think that's what they do.
yeah, I think that exactly. I think that's what they should do is constitutionalism. Um I think that in this case they or the court that struck down this law with DeSantis is correct in doing so, and that's fine. Like the legal system is working the way that it's supposed to. And if you think that, I mean, do you think that if DeSantis were to be president and then there was a Republican House and Senate,
Hmm.
that if they passed this law
Hmm.
that they passed in Florida, that it wouldn't be struck down by the Supreme Court?
I think it would not be. I think they would, and right here I have a highlight, academic freedom, so long as they express the viewpoints of which the state approves. I think that is exactly what the right wing wants. They want academic freedom as long as the state approves. As long as it's right wing approved and not woke. Yeah, I
Interesting.
think that's exactly what they want. Um,
I think the Supreme Court would probably strike it down.
I don't think they would. I mean, but we can't know. But
Or at the very least, having a federal job like this, the legislation wouldn't be passed in the first place. And also, the attempt to pass certain things or to do certain things would be diluted vastly. In Florida, you've got the state legislature and the state uh, governance,
mhm.
I guess, the governor and the legislature, right? Which is a whole different ballgame from playing on the national stage. So, would you even be able to pass this legislation on the national stage? Probably not.
If you have the House and the Senate and uh, this guy as president, yes, that would pass.
No, I doubt it. Um, in the same way that the only thing that ever made it through on the national, like we just talked about this, right?
Mhm.
About how candidates' positions are weakened substantially on the national stage because they want to get reelected, right? Um, you know, Trump running, his positions were weakened. He didn't do a whole lot in terms of legislation. A lot of his policies and promises were kept via alternative routes, right? Like fucking up the immigration website.
Mhm.
Like that's how things get done on the national stage. I think that legislation in Florida has been handled by our legal system, our system of governance appropriately. And I think that it actually would not even be feasible to do that on the national stage.
I think it is. And why do I think it is? Because I watch Trump speeches. I watch DeSantis speak. And okay, so there was it was maybe 6 or 8 months ago. Trump was doing one of those stump speeches where he comes out and he gets the crowd going, um, and he does the applause lines. You know, hey, welcome to, I'm in Cleveland, and everybody goes like, yay. And then he's like, yeah, because the USA, and then everybody's like, yay. And he's like, oh, I rebuilt our military, yay. But the crowd got loudest. Do you know what the crowd cheered for the most? That
No, tell me.
uproarious, wild. He couldn't talk for like 40 or 50 whole seconds because they were just cheering out of their minds. He said 3 words: woke is shit. And they lost their minds. I think they love that. I think the Republican voters love this anti-wokeism. And I think it would pass. And I think they would get so much support from their supporters because of this. This is why Ron DeSantis is doing it. He isn't doing this because he's ideologically against wokeism. He's doing it because his base loves it.
Sure.
And I think that that's why it would pass. I think that the people who support it, in the Republicans who support this kind of anti-woke legislation in the Senate, would get support. They would get numbers. They would get positive feedback from their voters. And then in the
Well, we
House as
are
well.
about to talk about wokeism in media, right?
Yep. That's why I wanted to say
And
this one for last.